They only put that commercial on there so you wouldn't listen to it. Listen to the rest. Just part of the conspiracy. True. Welcome to Faith, Fiction, and Folklore, or as we like to call it, the Try-F Podcast, where we try not to F the podcast up. And oh my gosh, we have got such a crazy show today. That's part of the reason why we're late. The other part of the reason we're late is, well, me. I had like a million different things I wanted to do. And just not enough time to actually put them all together. So we're going to try to get into this as quickly as possible. So today, first of all, we're going to... Jess says hello. Hello, Jess. Hello. So first of all, we're going to talk about, since the title of the thumbnail is Et tu Bongino, Et tu Brutai for you Philistines. Look it up if you don't know.
Should we shout to the heart?
Shout to the heart? No, that's Bon Jovi. I hate you. So, I hate you so much right now. No.
I give love a bad name.
Shakespeare. You uncultured swine. Shakespeare.
You're welcome. Oink, oink.
Anyway, no. Okay, first of all, we're talking about Kash and Bongino and their wonderful betrayal that took place on Sunday. It's like, why could they not have at least done it last week when everybody bailed on me and I had something, that way I'd have something to talk about instead of my own stupid videos. But
I have a good reason, thank you.
No, you guys have excuses. It's just they did this immediately after the show. Like, it was Sunday morning, and this would have been a really good thing to talk about Saturday. But anyway.
It is Saturday.
It is, you're right. Anyway, so I was a little annoyed, but at least we get to talk about it now, and I found it very interesting. With that said, let's get into it. So we're starting out with the fact that Bongino and Kash Patel said Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. It's official, guys. We don't have to worry about it anymore. It was all a suicide all along. Don't worry about it. Needless to say, first of all, I guess if you haven't watched these guys before, you really wouldn't I don't know if you would understand the contrast, but having seen these guys off and on for years, this thing looks like a prison video. Like, I expect one of these guys' spouses to be behind the camera and there's some terrorist holding a gun to her head. Like, it's that bad. Like, these guys are stiff and all, like, scared out of their minds and everything. And it makes me think they got to. Just saying. Just to be perfectly blunt. But everybody's very upset, and everybody's very confused about it.
They probably don't want to lose their followers.
His brow just in this picture is glistening.
Yeah.
You can tell he's nervous.
Yeah, well, body language experts are like, from what I understand, they're like all in agreement. These guys are lying their butts off. And I don't know if we'll get to hear the clip tonight, because I don't remember what all I pulled up, but Alex Jones made a funny line. He's like, at least it's a little endearing that these guys are so bad at lying, because it's really obvious that they haven't done it very often. Yeah. So that's fair enough. Well, there's that. Yeah. But can I just say before we get started, I am so glad I don't watch Fox News anymore. I'm so glad I don't watch the three-letter news networks anymore. Like,
why is that, Gary?
Because it's so lame.
Indeed.
I've been spoiled by Rogan and like long-form podcasts, and you can tell every time there's a cut, you can tell that they've like pre-scripted their answers. And it really is like high school theater now that I've been away from it for several years. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, we got those guys from January 6th and we're gonna get them and we'll show you, oh, the bad guys are gonna pay, Yeah. It's like really, really bad acting. And it's like, good night. Memorize your lines if you're going to read a script, guys. Come on. Yeah. There's somebody behind the camera going, and we're going to pay. I mean, it was bad acting. Just bad. And I'm like, good night.
It's not good. I didn't watch it. I just listened to it. But, man, it's...
Like, the internet spoiled us.
Even that.
I used to watch this all the time, and I thought it was real. Like,
Yeah.
I'm embarrassed a little bit to think that this isn't, because this was so canned and so pre-organized. And we're not going to really get in too deep into this like now, but it should also be noted that they also claimed that the first shooter, the first attempted Trump assassin, wannabe Trump assassin, he was totally working alone. Nothing to see here. No deep connections or anything. That was when he said, there's no there, if you recall in the interview. There's no there. What about the bank accounts in Europe? Shut up. What about the fact, have you gotten into his phone yet? Shut up. I mean, just like, nothing to see here. Moving on. So they covered up for the assassination too. So it's like, maybe like an alien got them and they're like there's just like some little gray guy in a skin suit right now. I don't know, but it's shocking. A gray guy.
In a gray skin suit. In a gray suit.
The reptilians got to him. That's what it is.
He's all about that gray.
I guess I should have went with the David Icke reptilian thing first. That would have made the joke better. But hindsight is 20/20. All right, let's watch these guys lie.
It's a very important distinction.
And I want to level set here. I want the American public to go back and look at what our predecessors stated to Congress under oath, that there were no FBI sources utilized in and around January 6th. I'm going to leave it at that, but go play the videotape and look for this material coming to Congress.
You said...
Can I just start off by saying the lead into this was they were bragging about how there's going to be a bunch of stuff come out in January 6th, and I was a little frustrated, like, yeah, Tucker Carlson revealed all that like 3 years ago. You're just going to confirm that, yeah, the FBI paid Antifa to break into the stinking Capitol building. Like, duh. And they're sitting there going, oh, but there were no agents in there. That was like the Biden administration's line. And it's like, well, you don't need agents when you've got your own communist army on retainer.
Right.
So,
I mean, dude, literally at that time, the White House website was like, if you type in antifa.com, it took you to the White House website.
Yeah,
it was like weird shit.
Subtle.
Right? Just crazy.
I know, it's ridiculous. So, yeah, obviously the FBI paid Antifa, and they probably had a couple guys in there that were supposed to instigate a fight. But they didn't have actual agents. 007 wasn't there, just everybody they paid. But anyway.
Well, Ray Epps was the superhero there.
Right, Ray Epps. We need to go into the Capitol. Fed. I don't know what you're talking about. Shut up.
This guy's a Fed.
Oh, my gosh. All right, here we go.
Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide.
When it comes to getting to market in a more quick
I swear the Fed knows.
helps us move
This is like a CIA ad.
as we all know.
Right.
People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
Okay, stare at Bongino's face right now and just play that song, Hello Darkness, My Old Friend.
What do you call that? It's a debate term, so whenever you just appeal to your own authority, is that what you just did?
It's the fallacy. It's an appeal to authority.
It's ridiculous.
It's a logical
It's like,
fallacy,
look,
yeah.
I'm an expert, and it's a suicide.
Yeah, exactly. That's what everybody's called out.
Or you could say something, that has evidence, behind it.
Exactly. Because think about it. These two guys are the guys that have been on the forefront of the Epstein killing himself thing. They've been pushing the idea for the last 4 years, or ever since I've even known about them. They've been the guys spearheading the Epstein killed himself thing. Now they're going, trust me, guys, I'm a prosecutor. Yeah, trust me, I'm a doctor. I play one on TV. So, it's like, now they're going to this appeal authority. Now, if you were somebody who had been pushing an idea for 4 years, and then all of a sudden you realized you were wrong, what would you do? You would try to make a case. You would go, look, I know we thought he killed himself, but here's why. His jaw was broken in 3 places, which is physically impossible for a human to do. Here's how he was able to hang himself with paper sheets. Like, you would reconstruct the story and you would try to explain how it happened and how everybody got it wrong and what led up to this big error. Like, you would have a presentation ready to explain how you screwed this up. What you wouldn't do is go, yeah, I'm a doctor. You know? So, I mean, that's what I would do. Like, that's what I would do if I was, like, caught in, like, that big of a screw up. I'd be like, okay, here's how I screwed this up. Here's what happened. And I would want to go into detail about the story. But we don't see any of that, do we?
No.
I mean, okay, would you do something like that? Would you accumulate your facts and try to make your case, or would you say you're a doctor?
I mean, my first thought was like I think I was wrong about flat Earth. So like,
Okay.
and I spent like 3 years spouting that, and realized the sun was, did a circle behind us in the south,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm wrong.
But even
But
in that example,
They're not gonna say I'm wrong.
yeah. But even in that example, look at what you did. You cited the thing that changed your mind. You know, you're like, oh, I realized the sun actually is up, in Antarctica or whatever. Like you referenced the thing that did it for you. None of that here. It's just trust me, bruh. So that's your first tell.
They're doubling down, but they're not even doubling down on anything.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't even understand.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, and his face never looks like this. You see how these eyebrows are up? It's like, don't kill me, guys.
Yeah, he's terrified.
Yeah,
They both are, actually.
Yeah, it's this rigid stance. Their hands are in their laps. They're like all kind of hunched forward, They look like they got scoliosis. I mean,
Bon Jovi's sweating like a pig.
yeah, like they are obviously lying. It's just incredible. So
He killed himself. You want me to?
he killed himself. He killed himself, guys. He definitely killed himself for
Trust me,
sure. Trust me, brah. So, oh my goodness.
I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
And that is like such an obvious edit. I
I've
mean,
seen
look
the
at that.
file.
I've seen the file. It's like, I know it's hard work. Like, do you see that cut? I guarantee you he rambled and said something he wasn't supposed to.
Probably.
Yeah. So let's just watch that again just to appreciate it.
It's not an apology
important.
for anything.
Thank you.
But
That's
there's
important.
a difference between agents and assets.
Yeah.
And I just hope when people put that
went
information
too
out
far
there,
back.
they make the
Come on.
distinction.
I was
Not that
gonna
it's
say,
better or
that's not what he
worse,
said.
But there's a distinction there.
It's a very important distinction.
And
But notice even in that clip there, see how adamant he is on that whatever they're talking about?
He's-
Like you can feel the
he's-
passion on that subject.
He's working real hard to get you to believe what he's talking about.
Yeah.
I want to level set here. I want the American public to go back and look at what our predecessors stated to Congress under oath, that there were no FBI sources utilized in and around January 6th. I'm going to leave it at that, but go play the videotape and look for this material coming to Congress.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Also, that laugh makes me mad because that's like a scoff at people. It's like, dude, I understand they probably have naked pictures of you or some kind of blackmail, but it's your choice to be like trying to make everybody else feel stupid for believing an idea you sold for 2 years or for multiple years, however long it was. Like, you're laughing, but I take that laugh to be like mocking the people that you sold this line to.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. Yeah. I mean, you don't have to do that. Like that makes me think way less of him. Like, I can be a little empathetic, like if they're if the Fed's like threatening their family or, there's some kind of like blackmail thing going. But to sit there and make your defense, I'm going to make the people who believed me feel stupid, that ticks me off. Like, that's pretty stinking low, in my opinion. Like, that irks me.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself.
That is the most awkward affirmation I've ever seen, too. It's just kind of like, he killed himself.
Well, it's like he was told to say it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
he just to start out, he just had to get that out. So
Yeah.
he
You're
was
right.
following instructions.
Say it. Say it.
You make sure you say it. I'll break your other knee.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, it does. It looks like they're being held hostage. It's crazy.
You want me to? I've seen the whole file.
I'm
He killed
totally
himself.
being
I know
honest.
it's hard work, but you
All right. So, needless
You
to
thought what I did to your pinky toe was bad? You better say it.
we need to acknowledge the uncommon fact, though. Like this is actually quite terrifying. Like if they could do this, first of all, just to address my own wounded ego here, you do realize that Trump's greatest champs so far in this administration, RFK, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard. All the passionate Democrats that flipped sides have been the greatest champs for the Republican Party. The conservative guys, these guys have sucked and face planted unlike anything. Like, where's the conservative competition thing here to really stand up for MAGA? Why are all the Democrat guys that flipped over the ones actually doing, like, a good job? Just to get some tribalism thrown in there. Good, healthy tribalism. That's point number one. Point number two, if they could do this to, like, some of the biggest cheerleaders on the right, turn them into complete kowtowed, broken men, like, what kind of chance do we actually have of saving the intelligence apparatus?
Probably in the
Dude,
negatives
it
by now.
started out at.
Yeah.
You know what it started out as? In
The
America?
FBI?
The OSS? Oh, the CIA.
I know that they worked with MI6 and that they're basically MI6. That's about all I know.
The OSS, which was
No.
formed right after Operation Paperclip. The SS.
Okay.
Or-
Oh, you're talking like, are they like not? How about you just
Nazi-
tell us because I'm dumb. So how about you
I was
just tell us
trying
what's
to
going on?
connect words. So
Okay.
the SS is like the intelligence agency for the Nazis, right? Then we had Operation Paperclip. We brought all of those guys over here, called
Yeah.
them the OSS. Now they're the
Okay.
CIA. They're just scumbags.
Ah, gotcha. Okay,
And
I
it was
see.
doomed from the start. The whole program was doomed from the start.
I don't know if maybe I'm wrong. I didn't think that they were CIA. I thought they were NASA. Like all the Nazi guys were like
Them
NASA
too.
and then eugenics and the academics. But I thought the CIA was connected more to Britain. I don't know. We need people smarter than
I don't
me
know.
to talk about it. But anyway, the bottom line is they all had bad foundations. Like it's been bad pretty much from the beginning. And we've pretty much been under a coup since JFK was killed.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, that's kind of what I think it's been. I think it's just been a hostile takeover ever since he died. And I don't think there's any saving it. I mean, if they could do this to Bongino, like you realize the Fed, if you make too much noise, they can put, let's just say, illicit material on your computer, and there ain't any blasted way around it. You couldn't do anything about it.
Yep.
Yeah, and the thing that's frustrating to me is that wouldn't matter so much if it wasn't for the fact that this culture isn't willing to admit that the intelligence apparatus is so blasted evil, and they would be inclined to believe the government whenever they find this stuff on somebody's computer, even though more than likely the government put that stuff on there. Like, people are so predisposed to believe the government that when their champions go out there and confront them, and then magically they're like secretly having all these skeletons in their closet, the idea that the government put those skeletons there never even crosses their mind for the majority of people, if I'm even making sense.
Yeah, I mean, do you think so? You think people wouldn't suspect it?
I mean, I would be meaner than this. This might be come
I
across
mean, I
as
think
kind
the
of
CIA
mean,
did
but
everything, but
I
guess I'm
think
wrong.
I think our generation would suspect it, but I think it's our generation and people younger than us would suspect it. But I think there is a contingent of the baby boomers and the Gen Xers that wouldn't. You know, I think it's a generational thing, and until those people lose their positions of prominence in the culture, we're going to continue to have this problem, because the simple fact of the matter is, if you want somebody to be your champion to reform the FBI or CIA or in the intelligence apparatus, get ready to see their genitals, because the FBI is going to show nude pictures of them. And if they don't have anything like that, they'll AI their face onto another person's body and show that to you. Like, you're going to be shown crimes and humiliating things that may or may not even be real, because the government has dirt on every citizen in this country. Every single last person. Like, your bad day at Google is sitting in an archive for Uncle Sam.
Well, I mean, there's even people that don't have any social media, internet, even a computer at all, that they will still do that to.
Exactly. Like, if they don't have it, they'll just make it up.
Yep.
And so the only way to beat that is to get the generations to a place where they don't believe the government ever. Because you're going to have to. Because it's not like they're going to give the ability to superimpose somebody's face in a believable way to you. You know?
Right.
Like, what we've got as far as, like, AI tech and everything is probably 20, 30 years behind what actually exists.
Yeah.
As far as quality goes. Now, I think there's
Dude,
limitations to AI.
I
But
remember using ChatGPT, like something similar in 7th grade. So
yeah.
10 to 15. How many years ago is that? I don't even know.
I don't know. We're old.
I mean, like
That's
20
the
years
bottom line.
ago, dude.
Yeah.
Like 20 years ago. They had these online bots that you could talk to.
Yeah. And they
It's like, it's the same thing over and over again.
Razor Fist was telling a story about that. They tried to, push one of those bots in like his middle school class or something, but they all just trained the bot to cuss, and so they got rid of the program. So
Yeah.
Like the little
It was on-
paperclip
it was
dude.
when E-Bombs World and stuff was popular. You remember that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, man.
Dude, I lived on a farm, so I'm like about
Fair
20,
enough.
like 5, 10, 20 years behind everybody anyway. Like, there's a lot. I never got an AI program, and, I
I
thought.
remember using it at school.
You
I
remember
remember
using?
using it at school.
Yeah. No, my world was mostly cows. So,
Yeah, fair
but
enough.
but anyway, even so, it's like the only way to beat these guys is to have complete distrust in the system. Because you're going to have to completely rebuild it. And these guys have the ability to create very compelling lies, and they can blow up the tiniest thing you've ever done wrong and make it into a big deal. So, but here's the other thing about these guys too. Robert Barnes was actually bringing this up on Viva Fry, and that Fry and Barnes podcast thing that they do. He said that essentially, and I agree with this, I think it makes perfect sense. Bongino and Kash Patel on the subject, they're what you would call like institutionalists. These people think that the institution can be reformed. In other words, the corruption is a bug, not a feature.
Yeah.
And that's really the main problem. It's like you have to get to the place where you realize you're trying to make some kind of altruistic use out of the Death Star. Good luck.
Fair point. Yeah.
So, but they're not willing to admit that. These guys think that they can reform the institution. And if you listen to the entirety of their interview, you'll hear, well, the FBI is back in business, and we're going to reform the institution, and we're going to fix this. Like, it's all about maintaining the sacredness of the FBI and like these
Not maintaining the idea of the FBI.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like a religious doctrine to them.
Yeah.
And as long as they have that attitude, and as long as we have people with that attitude in power, it's never going to get fixed. To fix this without a shoot 'em up, you're going to need people that are like, I would prefer the Hoover Building to be a crater, but since I've been given the position of authority, I'm going to try to fix it. Like, you need people with that attitude. You need people in there that would rather see it destroyed, but since they've been given some power, they're going to try to make some kind of use out of it. That's the only way to change it peaceably, if you have any prayer of changing it peaceably. But no, right now you've got people going, well, most of the FBI agents are good. No, they're not. No, they're not, because for 50 years, they've had the opportunity to hire people. The bad guys have had opportunities to hire people just like them. You build cultures. And so there are good people, but they are the minority. They are definitely the minority. All right, and so we've got, or at least, but even if that wasn't true, in order to fix it, you would have to act like that's true. Because you don't know who the good guys and the bad guys are, even if they're 50-50. So...
Yeah. Speaking of the Hoover Building, he said they wanted to leave the Hoover Building, right?
Yeah, they're gonna move it probably because it's
Like,
bugged.
oh, it's too expensive to fix, so we're just gonna leave.
That's bull. They've got it bugged. They need to get out of there so they could actually do things in private. So, who watches the Watchers? The British. But anyway, so. Yeah. It's probably even more stupid and nonsensical than that. It's like the FBI's got the CIA bugged, and the CIA's got the FBI bugged, and the NSA's got everybody else bugged, and then the FDA's got the NSA bugged. And they're all just like listening to each other, looking for anything they can use. It's probably a clown show like that.
Yep.
But anyway.
And the big secret is none of them actually exist. They're all just like 4 fat guys in a closet. Every agency, they just have to keep up the idea that they're real.
Yeah, that would be funny. That would be
Everybody
comforting.
else is an actor.
I don't know if that would be a comforting illusion or not. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
It's like the Wizard of Oz, only stupid. So.
Right.
So here's Bongino being inconsistent. Let's see if I can get this pulled up.
I'm telling you, there could be some national security problems here. Because, ladies and gentlemen, nobody knows how much material people have on Jeffrey Epstein. Who was videoed where those videos are. I was told by someone a long time ago, a very knowledgeable reporter, and it's not my information. I'm not hiding. You're hiding up for some foreign government. You're protecting. I'm not protecting anyone. I'm only telling you what I was told. That some governments around the world may have some material that's related to the Epstein thing. Bill Clinton was knee deep in this, man. I have a very, very good source. I've told you this story. Forgive me for repeating it if you're a P1, but some people are new here and never heard this. He was on the plane with Bill Clinton and Epstein on one of Epstein's planes when Bill Clinton was on the plane with some women who, according to my source, looked underage. Why was my source on the plane? Dan, you know people who hung out with Jeffrey Epstein? No, I don't. He was working. Right? It's unbelievable. The guy killed himself, and now nobody's going to know. My buddy was on the plane and was very uncomfortable. He didn't see anything directly, but there was like apparently some area in the back of the plane where everybody went to go, whatever, do their thing. My friend's not comfortable with it. They land and he's like to the guy who's running the show, if you know what I mean, I ain't going to be part of whatever's going on this plane. And the guy who's running the whole thing says, well, you need to go home.
Get off my plane.
That's the Air Force One thing, too. It's kind of like a similar story. And he says, you need to go home. So they send him home. But he saw Clinton on the plane with Epstein in the little area with people he thought didn't look of age. I've told this story 1,000 times, and it's amazing how, because it's the Dan Bongino show where we've been right about just about everything, everyone in the media ignores it, even though this source is still out there. Anyone can talk to him.
And just for emphasis, let's go back here, if I can do this right.
The man with no name said perfect title for the stream.
You know Epstein's
disappointment.
Sorry, hang on. Read that again, Trevor.
The man with no name said the perfect title for the stream. It's such a disappointment the way Dan and Kash folded.
It really is.
Hilarious.
Like, it sucks.
Hilarious.
It sucks. But thank you for joining the chat, sir.
an intelligence asset for people.
Hang on.
So Dan Bongino's a Fed with a podcast?
he was a major conservative podcaster. That's my point.
And now he's a Fed?
And now he's a Fed. And he was put in that position to find answers about this exact subject. Both him and Kash were. And the second they get in there, it's
like
he
it's
killed himself.
actor recruitment. It's crazy to me.
You think that's what it is? Extrapolate on that. What is that? Actor recruitment.
It's like they need people that people trust. So they find people that are spreading information. They're like, hey, spread my information now.
It's depressing.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Here's another one.
Says, Epstein's an intelligence asset for people in the Middle East, right? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. I'm like, you sure of that? I'm absolutely sure of that. That he's either a witting or unwitting asset, intelligence asset. There's a big assumption out there that these videotapes were exclusively in the custody of Epstein. That's a huge mistake. The reason they wanted this story to go away is because there's an assumption like, oh yeah, Epstein had him. No, he wasn't the only one who had him, according to this source. These assets, that's why this blackmail story makes so much sense. Which Middle Eastern countries they are, I don't know. Epstein was either a witting or unwitting intelligence asset, and they may have had his plane wired up, and they're the ones who have all this stuff. I'm telling you.
What videos was he talking
about? Sorry, say that again, Trevor.
What videos was he talking about just now?
Bongino? Oh, I have no clue.
Epstein's an intelligence asset for people.
Okay, shush.
Says, the Middle East.
And somebody put this, Darth Cracker, they're both liars. Trust us. We're from the government. So, yeah, that was really depressing. I think that's the best way to put it. So, but everybody's had different reactions. The one I appreciated the most was good old Alex Jones. He said it the best.
I really like Dan Bongino. I really like Kash Patel. But recent statements that, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself when it would take an hour to go over the evidence. Obviously, he didn't. It's ridiculous. Neck broken 3 times. That's the coroner. And all the rest of it, cameras turned off, on and on and on. And then to add insult to injury, we've seen all the evidence from Butler and Crooks, and it's open and shut. Nothing else happened here. Bare minimum Secret Service stand down. The FBI trying to cover up the investigation until Kash and Bongino got in. And then there's so many facets to it. I've interviewed the private investigators that have been on the ground, very respected, I've known for decades, like Hagman, where they got threatened on the ground by FBI to get out of here when they were there for months. So we know the whole background of Crooks and his house being basically completely clean, no utensils, nothing. His phone, being at this law enforcement training center with the geolocation being around the FBI building. I mean, he's on top of the building taking the shot for 10 minutes with people saying, shooter, 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 nothing being done. You got Bongino for months and months and months in July, rightfully saying this is a cover-up, and then 180, and then the body language, which almost makes it endearing when they're being deceptive, and we all know they are, for whatever reason. They look like, in fact, I was going to say that, like in the Korean War or in the Vietnam War conflicts, when they would shoot down our fighter pilots or fighter bombers, and then the famous cases of them doing Morse code when they'd been tortured and forced to say horrible things about America and their mission. They were Morse coding torture. Younger generations won't know what Steve was talking about, but I'm old enough to remember that. And so that's where we are. And so I don't want to cry foul on these guys. I'm a big booster of the administration. I'm giving them time.
That's not the one I was looking for. Is this it?
Yeah.
Let's try this one.
But
you just get sucked into the Alex Jones videos, don't you?
It's like an endless rabbit hole. The man's so charming. He's gonna see it. He sells me that methylene blue. I love it. So.
He has all the paperwork.
You're not going to do anything about it. Just shut up about it then.
No.
But that's only going to encourage the group inside the government, the faction, to try to kill the big guy again. I'm not trying to create some controversy. Alex Jones turns on Trump, turns on Bongino. It's not that. Please don't insult us anymore. Please, please, please. God, I mean, it's like getting up at a dinner party and taking a dump on a plate and telling everybody it's chocolate ice cream. I mean, just do not do it. Gives me a headache. If you're not going to do anything about it, just shut up about it then.
That was the one I was looking for. I felt that was the most appropriate response.
I like ice cream.
You like ice cream? Well, good for you. That's not what we're talking about, but all right. So then there were a couple people that got on my nerves. Glenn Beck is so hit and miss. There's sometimes I really agree with him, and other times he makes me want to tear my eyes out. But he said something here, hopefully I got it on the right spot, that...
His white mic makes me want to tear my eyes out.
Matches his hair color.
He said what?
The unfortunate way I paused on his face makes me want to tear my eyes out.
Can you guys hear my cat?
Spot.
Nope.
I kind of heard it there for a second when you said something, but...
He's getting a bath.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
I'm Ron Burgundy. There you go.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
I don't. All right, let's see if I got this on the right spot here.
That is my belief, as I said to you yesterday. We cannot operate just on belief. We need facts. And in my monologue yesterday, I was saying, what kind of facts would you need to believe? For some people, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, coming out and saying that is enough. I told you yesterday, Stu, remember when we played the video of Dan Bongino saying, I've seen the evidence. He didn't kill himself. Remember what I said right after that? He's telling the truth. You have that video? Go ahead, play the video.
You said Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide.
What?
I said, trust me, bro.
Yeah, trust me, bro. Trust the science.
When you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. Again, you want me to
get... It gets more ridiculous.
I've seen that.
No, it does. It really does. It's just like, he killed himself. Yeah. Definitely killed himself. Definitely. You know? And then Becca's sitting there going, he's telling the truth. Really? Is he? Are you sure? Good night. Why would you even think that? That's just crazy. Because you want to. Because you trust the institutions. Because what happens if people lie and the world sucks? It would be madness. What if our institutions are just... Well, I'll ramble on more about that here in a second. Let's just finish what I was trying to find.
He killed himself.
I don't think Jess
I believe
got
him.
the I'm wrong.
Why? Why would you believe him? Huh? What'd you say, Trevor? I'm sorry.
The Ron Burgundy thing, the joke. I don't think Jess got it.
It went over my head. Yeah. I don't know what we were referring to.
Oh.
Probably the look on his face.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. The look on his face. Yeah, because he... Good night. I have got to get better at pausing these videos. That is not a flattering face. That's my fault, Beck. I'm sorry. Anyway, so... Why does he believe him? Why would you believe that? Like, I'm not a detective, but this is a little on the nose. Why would you say he's telling the truth? Unless you really, really want to believe it because you can't imagine people betray you. Because that body language screams, I am scared out of my freaking mind.
Oh, yeah. Glenn said he told the truth?
Yeah, Glenn just said right here he believed him.
Oh, I guess I missed it. What an idiot.
Well, it's insane, yeah. But I think he says the real reason why he believes them here in just a second, which is what I'm trying to get to.
I believe him. That's not good enough for America, however. Now, I have also said on this program...
Yeah, you want to know why? Know why? Because you promised the files! Like 6 months ago. And everybody was on board with you until Pam Bondi went out there and go, here's phase 1. And then it was like the exact same stuff that we'd gotten before. That's why it's not good enough, because we've already been lied to once already on it. It's not that the American people, it's like, I'm Glenn Beck. I'm the rational one. I believe Bongino because I know him. You know, but those dad blame plebs. You've got to convince the plebs, Bongino. You have to convince the plebs. And it's not good enough for them. It's like, no, we've already been lied to. And we have more reason to disbelieve him than you have to believe him, period.
Yep.
Okay, so Sin Hicks, what if it's doublespeak, as in he was given the ability and an ultimatum? I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Yeah.
Cody, did you understand that?
I think so. I mean, as far as like Dan Bongino reciting things.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I mean, I
Yeah,
think it was
do this or we're gonna take your life away, like your house and your family.
Yeah, because the shaking of the head. Yeah, that's what I think it was. It's kind of I had thought about that. I wasn't sure because it's like the hostages and wars blinking SOS or something. Like maybe if you make it really obvious that you're lying, people will realize that you're lying, you know? So maybe that's what it is. Because it is really obvious that they're lying. So maybe they're doing that on purpose and kind of giving minimum effort to kind of let people know. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Epstein. Given ability.
Okay. Epstein was given the ability. Yeah. People had theorized that. Epstein was basically given the option to kill himself, as in, all right, we're going to give you the means and the opportunity, and you better do it or else. And I would say that would be very plausible, except for the jaw. Like, from what I understand from the autopsy report, his jaw was broken in 3 places, and there's basically no physical way that he could have killed himself by himself in that cell.
Yeah.
That would be my only argument.
He could have still been given an ultimatum, but he just chose to not.
Yeah, well, like the only way I could see him being given an ultimatum is if he was told to do it, then maybe he paid the guard and then he set it up. Like, you know what I mean? Because the cameras had to go out, then the guards conveniently left, and the guy who actually, like one of the guys in the cell was supposedly really, really buff, you know, and he was kind of let out of the cell. So maybe the guy was like, Epstein was made to, he was given the ultimatum, and then perhaps he set it up himself or something like that. Perhaps. Yeah. But either way, the one fact that is irrefutable is that it is impossible for him to have killed himself by himself because of the wounds. The wounds are consistent with strangulation, not hanging.
Yeah.
And again, that's why the lie between with Bongino and Kash is so freaking obvious, because it's like, we have the autopsy. We know how the guy died. And the doctor said it's impossible for the guy to have hung himself. And so at the very least, he didn't die the way they said he died. So to sit there and ignore that and go, trust me, I'm the expert.
Trust me.
I'm a prosecutor. I've been to the jail before. Yeah. It's like, that's crap. We know you're lying because you're not addressing any of the discrepancies. None.
Yeah.
So anyway. All right.
Yep.
I just keep clicking on his worst faces. I am so sorry.
Maybe it's all bad faces.
Be nice, Cody. We don't know that.
Graham,
I mean,
do you want
already.
to feel good?
What?
I mean, it's been 3 times already. How's this one?
That one's fair.
Smiling like a donut.
Let me give a little charity, because I'm about to yell at him a lot here in a few minutes. Let me give a little charity.
Good, or do you want people to go to jail? I want people to go to jail. That's why I said with Pam Bondi, when on day number 2 after that debacle of the release of the file, I said...
Okay, here's some charity. At least he agrees the Pam Bondi thing was stupid. I can't believe she did that. Like, the whole, we have the files, and then she just gave everybody what they already had before. In fact, I think it was Benny Johnson who was saying that they redacted stuff that wasn't even redacted the first time they sent all that paperwork out. I mean, what in the world is going on up there?
What a mess.
Yeah.
Look, perhaps this is because they're still gathering evidence. They want to put people in jail, yada, yada. I don't know why they withheld that evidence. But to believe that Pam Bondi, because I asked the president on this, to believe that Pam Bondi has sold out, and then Kash Patel and Dan Bongino all sold out, means that you must then believe that Donald Trump knows it and is part of it. That's the problem.
Do you want to know where to invest
Hey, look an ad
right now? Well, forget about AI, quantum computing, electric.
Who is left to believe? Now, I want...
Okay, so I'm going to pause there. That's why he believes Bongino. Because if Bongino was lying, who's left to believe? Because his whole thing is we got to trust the system, and if we sit there and we don't believe anything, everything's going to implode or whatever. And I'm like, I hate to say it, but it's not that everybody's like everything's going to implode because we can't trust anybody. It's Vivek Ramaswamy is looking pretty sweet right now. Because what did he say? Oh, I know it hurts you. But what did he say? He said, we got to get rid of the FBI. We got to get rid of the CIA. We got to get rid of the NSA because these institutions are unsalvageable. And that is what these people are trying to avoid. They do not want to admit that the intelligence apparatus in this country is unsalvageable.
Yeah. Then they're out of a job.
Yeah, then they're out of a job. So, all right. Let's see. Sin Hicks says he's right there. And then he says, these people are global entities who can run and reinvent themselves if they get scared. They have to be rounded up swiftly if it's going to happen. Got to keep them calm, too. Those are all good points, yeah. But I don't think there's any way to save the institutions. I think it's not just because it's like so bad, but it's also because in order to save the institution, you have to admit that it's in as bad a shape as it is. And there's still this underlying attitude that, oh, it's just a few bad actors. Maybe a few bad actors up at the top. No, it's a culture. It's the entire apparatus is that way. It's a Praetorian Guard that's been trying to run the country for forever. And you can't salvage that. It's like I give this really, because I'm a lazy farmer, well, not a lazy, because I'm a farmer, I kind of have a lazy analogy for it. Let's put it this way. When a bull kills a farmer, you kill the bull, period. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. Doesn't matter what the circumstances are, because the bull is a 1-ton tank. And once it figures out that it can kill the farmer, it will kill another farmer. Once it figures out it can, it inevitably will. And so you get rid of the bull, period, regardless of the circumstances. It's the same thing. I would argue that the FBI crossed the Rubicon the moment Waco happened. Because once these people figured out that they could burn women and children alive, provided they could create the right narrative, there was no saving it. And until these people are willing to admit that, until they realize that, yeah, it's inevitable for guys like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel to be turned. It's inevitable. Because how are you going to argue against the entire country when these guys... How are you going to convince the entire country of your innocence if the CIA can like AI your face committing some crime on a video? How are you supposed to defend yourself? Because the majority of the country is going, no, our government wouldn't do that. We're mostly good. So, Sin Hicks says, true, I'm always the devil's advocate when possible. And then he says, R.I.P. David. David Koresh, yes. What happened was an absolute crime, but they justified Waco by going, David Koresh is crazy, as if that had anything to do with burning women and children alive.
Yep.
And it worked. It worked. Like, people literally let those people off the hook for what they did. Now, how can you retrieve an institution after something like that happens? You can't. So,
kill the bull.
Yep. You got to kill the bull. Exactly. So, all right, I got one more clip left.
The problem is the bull is the farmer in this case.
That's true. Well, I don't know. That's an interesting question. Is the FBI the bull or the farmer? For my analogy, it's the bull, because it's like they crossed the Rubicon. Like, they've always done cloak and dagger stuff. But the idea that you could commit that kind of an atrocity in broad daylight and get away with it, provided the media is on your side. I can't think of another instance where something that blatant happened and they got away with it. Like, false flags and all that. That stuff's always done under cover of darkness. But that was the first time. They literally set the building on fire in front of the entire nation on live television. I was 5 years old when that happened. I still remember watching that compound burn.
Yeah.
I mean, that was so public. And they got away with it. How do you go back from that? I don't think you can.
I mean, they're doing it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the attacks have been worse and worse ever since then. So, yeah, I think you got to kill the bull. I would say the farmer is the people in this case, or the people collectively.
I mean, if you think we have the power to dismantle the FBI.
We can, once you acknowledge the truth of what needs to be done. The problem is people pretend like everything's okay until it takes very extreme action to actually fix the issue. It's like if you fix a leaky dam early on, you might be able to save it, but there comes a point where, I don't know what the term is, but, there's too much damage to the dam and you've just got to blow the thing. You understand what I'm saying? Like, we're going to reach a point where this stuff is no longer fixable. And as long as we pretend like, it's just the bad actors in the FBI are a bug instead of a feature, as long as we keep living in that fantasy, the damage to the institution is just going to continue. And it's going to come to a point where you can't fix it peaceably. So we'll see. We'll see. Though. I hope. But honestly, though, just kind of as an optimistic... Well, I don't know if it's optimistic. I think inevitably what's going to end up happening is Pam and Bongino and Kash, they're going to get fired. Like, I think it's done. I think I'm actually quite shocked because these guys had like 4 years plus of goodwill, kind of with the MAGA movement built up, and they just like decimated it in 30 seconds. It's really crazy. And so... now the whole impatience with the Epstein situation is just going to grow and grow and grow. And I think Trump's going to be in a spot where the only way he's going to salvage it is, if he gets rid of him. And that is one thing I do disagree with Beck about. I don't think you can necessarily blame Trump for this. Number one, because Trump has already kind of subtly in another interview given Bongino and Kash a warning for not being forthright about the assassination attempt. Which he brought, like, he's done that thing where it's like, well, they're great guys, but I'd really like some answers on this thing over here, and they're not giving them, it's like, they need to get on that, he's like doing that polite warning thing that, business people kind of do. And that's the subtly, get your butt in gear and get me some answers. And then, but here's the thing, that interview actually happened before this Fox News interview, and after he made that subtle little threat, then they turn around and say there's nothing to see. That suggests tension. Okay. So I don't think they're long for this job, personally. And what's really sad is after this, Bongino ain't getting his podcast back. He might have half the audience he had before. Maybe. Like, he just nuked his credibility. Kash was strictly a government guy from the beginning, so I don't know if it's going to affect his world too much one way or the other. But Bongino just nuked his career. Yeah. So you have to ask the question, why would he do that? Blackmail,
I don't think he
my
knew
opinion.
That was going to happen. Yeah, it's like selling out to Hollywood and,
Yeah.
Like, kill your career. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
That's what happens in acting.
But there's an easy way to fix all this. They could release the files. They could release what they have, but they won't. They won't. Yep. They could fix all of this tomorrow, and they won't. So you've got to ask yourself why. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm rambling a lot. So let Let me get to the last clip here because Patrick Bet David offered a very interesting kind of take on this, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. I found it personally annoying, but I wanted to see what you guys thought. This is an ethical question more than it is anything else.
And the idea of knowing, keeping a card because you know they're going to try to destroy you.
I get that, but I'm not comfortable with any leverage, any negotiations with kids being raped.
All right,
like,
hang on a
if
minute.
the information is there,
These guys that do this job, you have to learn how to do this. The enemy's watching every single one of your moves. Remember, we have freedom of speech. China does not. Iran does not. Russia does not. We have freedom of speech. What is the benefit of not having freedom of speech? Your enemy is not able to see what you're doing. What is the benefit of having freedom of speech? You can't silence people that want to say stuff like we're saying right now.
Studio quality AI images in seconds. One payment,
Hello,
unlimited
ad.
use forever. Create breathtaking images in
If we had no freedom of speech, we can't even say what we just said right now.
Yeah.
Because somebody, oh, well, listen, these guys are Trumpsters. This is not a good look. We're not sitting here saying we agree. So it's not, this is the part where the audience is kind of like, so what are you guys? Are you for it or are you not for it? No, look, we voted for certain things we want to know. But having said that, Vinny, I still understand the idea of knowing, keeping a card because you know they're going to try to destroy you.
I get that, but I'm not comfortable with any leverage, any negotiations with kids being raped. Like, if the information is there, those kids deserve justice now. If it's a leverage tool with Trump and he's biding his time, I am 1,000% not comfortable with that. Biding and waiting and like saving it. I understand it's a tactic move and he's trying to save it for the end game, but we're talking about kids that are on camera getting raped and they have it, and it's I am 1,000% against that if that's the case.
There is a reason why when you choose to become the leader of the free world, there's only 46 people that have been able to do it. It's not a job for everybody. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now listen to this. This is what I'm getting at.
It's very easy for everybody to act emotionally about everything. You're not cut out to be a president. You're too emotional to be a president. Make sense? The job isn't for everybody.
Are you talking to Vinny on that one?
All right. So what did he say? I disagree with this wholeheartedly.
If you shouldn't be emotional.
What he's saying is that
Trump is not emotional.
What he's saying is that Trump actually, they know what's going on, but they're holding on to the information to use as a blackmail thing. And I'm not okay with that because, like the other guy said, there are kids and these people need to go to jail now, and they don't need to be using this information for blackmail. For one thing, Trump is competing with people that have been participating in blackmail for 40 years. He's been at it for maybe 5. You can't outfox a fox by pretending to be a fox.
Yeah, whose claim is it that that's what's going on?
Well, that's what David's theory was. Patrick Beck David, and I guess I didn't get in there early enough, so if you want to find it yourself, the video is Are They Compromised? Alex Jones calls out Bongino on Trump assassination claims, and that's at Valuetainment. So if you want to check that video out. But his basic point is that Trump might be using this Epstein information as a bargaining chip. If you don't do what I want, I'm going to release this information. So he's trying to blackmail the blackmailers.
Gotcha.
That's his theory.
So it's apologetics for why they haven't released the document.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that's true, I would be livid. For the record, I don't think that's true, but if that were true, I would be livid. I don't think that's good enough.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to get behind a what if, you know. Maybe.
Well, I think we've been talking a little bit about the generational differences here. And I think this is kind of, there is a group of people that are in leadership, let's say, that I think are a little too comfortable with playing the Machiavellian. And I think that's kind of why our government is in this situation in the first place. And now you've got people who are trying to do the right thing, but they're trying to do the right thing by matching the bad guy's tactics. Yeah. And I'm like, you're not going to win if you try to match the bad guy's tactics. You can't outfox the fox by playing the fox because you're not a fox.
No,
which is
you take
why
a shotgun and you shoot it.
Yeah. Which is why if somebody, exactly. Which is why somebody like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino look like absolute idiots trying to lie because they don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
You know? But I think it's just a real problem because it's, just broadly speaking, being a Machiavellian turns you into an idiot. Because all you're really doing is you're pretending like there's a false dichotomy so you can justify whatever convenient, expedient, easy way you need to get whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not looking like morality, doing the right thing, serves as a bulwark to keep you from getting too short-sighted on what you want. So you get that tunnel vision and you miss obvious, opportunities. For one thing, for example, with this whole thing, he's thinking Trump's being a Machiavellian. He's being the cold, calculating guy who's holding on to the information to get what he wants. And this is a really smart play. And he's one of the guys who deserves to be president because he's one of the guys that's willing to do what it takes. Okay, first of all, those 46 people that were presidents, half of them sucked. Most of them sucked and made the country worse. So that's not much of an argument. So this whole being willing to do whatever it takes, the people who did that screwed our country up. Number two, if you're going to be a Machiavellian and totally utilitarian about this is still a stupid play because of the midterms. Because people are going to get more and more and more ticked off. And what good is your stupid blackmail going to be if you lose the Senate, if you lose the House, and you're a lame duck president? Nobody's going to care about your blackmail then. So yep. Mr. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, because that's really what he's saying. I'm the one who has the perspective. I can see the big picture. I can see what he's doing. I can play the long game. No, idiot, you're not thinking about all the details. Because if Trump did that, if Trump really is doing that, then by the time we get to the midterms, we're going to lose everything. So A, what you're suggesting is morally repugnant. B, it wouldn't work anyway. Yep. So that's why I hate Machiavellians. They think they're so much smarter than everybody else, but they're still idiots.
Kind of like when he was saying he was going to drain the swamp, and that never happened.
Well, he didn't even know how deep the swamp was.
Yeah.
It's like these guys talk. Like, this is the problem. We all know the government is like in horrible shape, horribly corrupt, and they're trafficking kids. That's what all this goes down to. We know all this stuff is happening, and we talk like, oh, we're going to fix it. We're going to drain the swamp. We're going to get rid of all this corruption. But for these guys at the top, it's just nomenclature. It's just crap you say to win an election, to trick the Midwesterners who are freaking out.
Get the votes, get the likes.
Yeah, get the votes, get the likes. It's just hyperbole. I guarantee you, when they sit there and were screaming their heads off about the Epstein list initially, they didn't think there was actually a blackmail racket going on, even though every one of their constituents in the dog told them there was actually something going on. They're like, it can't be that bad. You're exaggerating. And then they get 12 terabytes of illicit material. Showing
where did this come from?
Yeah, where did this come from? And now they're going, oh, crap, there's actually crimes committed. What do we do? And it gets even worse because the dirty little secret of this is our intelligence apparatus is smuggling kids for blackmail operations, and they're working with other countries to do it. And so if we out the big guys that if we out the people that were committing these crimes in these videos, we're creating problems for ourselves, and we're creating problems for other countries. And that's why these guys are freaking out, because this is like an international incident. I say do it anyway, justice be done, may the heavens fall. But these guys are like, well, we can't do that. That'd create too much trouble. And, it's already in the past or whatever they tell themselves.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah, rip the Band-Aid off and have it out. Because this isn't acceptable. But that just annoyed me. That whole Machiavellian, well, he's using it and he's got what it takes to, play his cards close to the chest and blah, 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 blah.
The great white hope.
Yeah. Now, in Trump's defense, I don't think Trump has basically spent the last couple months stopping 3 nuclear wars and trying to keep the oligarchs from crashing the economy since March. He's been a little busy. So I wouldn't. I don't think you're right about that, but we don't need to discuss that right now. Anyway, 3 different countries have been threatening nuclear war. And so he's been in the middle of trying to stop that. And he's been trying to keep the economy from crashing while oligarchs are trying to crash it. And he's in the middle of a tariff war. So he's been a little distracted. But sooner or later, this other stuff's going to clear up. And he will have to deal with Bondi and Kash and Bongino.
Yeah.
So, situation sucks. I'm very disappointed because I was a big fan of Kash Patel. I didn't watch Bongino so much. I did see him off and on because I watch other people in that circle. But, you know. But I'm really disappointed in Kash. It sucks. But, anyway. Yeah. All right, I've got through all my tabs. Anybody got any final thoughts?
No, I just wanted to say that. I guess I do. It strikes me when I watch stuff like this as they're actors. Like when I watch it, I'm like, oh my god, this is acting. This is bullshit. Because I don't watch it often, so like this is the first time I've seen a news clip in a while. And so when I watch it, it's like, wow, this is acting.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
That's all I say.
Well, the Fox News thing, I think, is definitely acting.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Okay, yeah. And I'm embarrassed because I believed it for forever, you know? And it's embarrassing to go back and look at it now after not having watched it for years. And I can't believe this was serious, you know? This was running through my head. It's like, I can't believe I took this crap seriously for so long. I was a moron. It's embarrassing. Crazy. It's legitimately embarrassing. But, all right. Well, that is the end of part 1 of the live stream. I'm tuckered out. I did a lot of yelling, but we're going to keep pushing through. So, guys, if you're on the live stream, stay with us. We're going to go on to part 2. If you are watching this after the fact, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Faith, Fiction, and Folklore. If you did, we would love it if you would subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Rumble. We can also be found on X, Instagram, and Facebook. And we are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Thank you again very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.